Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with special guest and author, John Hoffman. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, you have a book out that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, and it coincides with Organ Donation Awareness Month. So, well, I know why you wrote the book, but why don't you tell the listeners why?
Sure. Well, as I was growing up and receiving both these gifts, I was trying to find the best way to give back. And what it came down to is really to share what I've been through, and hopefully it'll provide some inspiration and some validation to what others might be going through.
I think I read the statistics correctly, that one person can save the lives of 10 people.
Right.
So it's vital for us to be able to help that many people in our final moments.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I'm an organ donor myself, so I see the value in this from a very early age.
Yeah, definitely.
But for it to affect someone like yourself being a recipient, that goes beyond anything that we can do.
Right.
So you wrote the book. Can you give us a little bit about the book without giving it 100% away?
So, I mean, this is about as true to life as it can get. I mean, this is me from when I was born to now. It kind of gives you an idea of what being a transplant patient is like. What's it like for their families? What's it like for a spouse? And all the way through. It certainly by no means lessens the impact of the donor family, but I think it's a point of view that isn't often known or told.
I don't think it's told at all, and unfortunately, we need to tell it from the recipient's point of view. We hear it a lot from the family who lost a loved one, and they're giving the donation. But we don't ever hear how it affects the lives of the one that's receiving it.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was trying to shed a light on.
I think you did it very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we have this, and I don't know your story personally, but I have had family that has been recipients for different things throughout life. So it affects each family member differently from the one that's needing a liver or a lung or blood or whatever you're donating. We don't really think about blood, but I have family members that need a blood transfusion and the blood banks are empty.
Yeah, well, I know there's always a need for blood. Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's a big one. That's one that we don't have to wait to pass on to get.
Correct.
But at the same time, you have these family members that we have a loved one, we're watching them wither away, and we know there's help out there. We just have to find the help.
Yeah, and it's a waiting game, really. I mean, some wait 2 months, some wait 2 years. I mean, you just never know.
And some, sadly, the help never comes.
Right. Some, unfortunately, wait until they can't. That happened with my grandfather. He was waiting for a liver transplant. Unfortunately, his time ran out before he got one. It
does happen. We see the good, we see the bad, we see the ugly. We see everything. And the doctors are stuck in the middle sometimes.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, they can only work with what they have.
Exactly. So when is exactly Organ Donation Awareness Month?
It was actually April 1st, April 30th. That was National Organ Donation Awareness Month. And, there are different weeks. I mean, there was a National Pediatric Transplant Week where, you give special awareness to kids that have received transplants like me.
Now, do you speak about the importance of donation or being a recipient or things like this?
That's what my ultimate goal is. I've spoken to a couple of libraries about my story. I've actually had blood donation, blood drives, in my honor before. But I mean, my ultimate goal is to get out and talk to people, go to hospitals, talk to kids about, that maybe are waiting or have received transplants, and so they have somebody to identify with. I've done some podcasts with fellow recipients as well.
Well, it's always good to get the message out there. One, we have to tell to the patients, there is hope. It does get better. Now, now I've heard good and bad from depending on the circumstance of being a recipient of the after care.
Right.
So it's not always good or always bad. It's somewhere in the middle, and it's a personal journey that everyone has to go through.
Absolutely.
So what message do you want to tell our listeners?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I want to honor the donors that gave their lives. In my case, gave their lives, and you know, the most important thing is that their gifts are being honored and valued and treasured. And you know, I've been able to live my life and you know, be with my family and things like that. But you know, also it's not always easy, you know, and there are days where you wonder, you know, why this person died and you didn't. You know, there's times where you question your morality, but the best thing is just to keep going.
Survivor's guilt. We hear about
Absolutely.
this a lot. I mean, we as people hear more about survivor's guilt during times of chaos, PTSD in our military, or survivors with a mass shooting or whatever you know, but we don't often associate it with recipients of organs.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, not that you don't see that very often.
I mean, it's something that we do need to talk about, because survivor's guilt is survivor's guilt. It doesn't matter what the traumatic experience is.
Absolutely.
It's still there.
I agree.
So in your case, you started when you were a child, and you had how many transplants since infancy to now?
2. I've had 2.
Okay. So the first one was at a very young age.
Yep, 13 months.
And the next one was
when I was 17, 1999.
And a typical organ in your case lasts how long?
Well, with today's advancements, it is supposed to last the rest of my life. Unfortunately, when I had my first transplant, it was experimental. So there are a lot of things they didn't know. Okay,
so we're going back to the 80s, 90s, roughly.
Correct. 81, yep.
Oh, well, I hit that right on the head.
You did. 81 and 99. So yeah.
So it takes a lot going back and forth, and we've seen a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, and a lot of technology coming up. And in some cases, we're now 3D printing organs.
I know, it's incredible. It's amazing. And you're taking partial organs and things like that. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing where technology and science has gotten us to, but we are still in the infancy of the technology-based organs. So we still need our traditional organs.
Correct. Yep.
Now that you have the first book out, are you thinking about doing another?
I have not considered that. No, not at this time. That was a lot of my material. I mean, we'll see how the years go.
Well, it doesn't have to be a nonfiction.
True.
You could, as an author, you're able to make a fictional story, and sometimes with this younger generation,
it's very true.
A fictional story going through what you went through as an actual person hits a lot more home to someone going through it.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that, but yeah, that's certainly something I could do.
See, I'm all sorts of information.
Yeah. That's great.
And then with your speaking, if you reach out to the actual hospitals, that's the avenue to go. I wouldn't send you to like Speaker Hub or something like this, because those are more corporate events. However, for hospitals, you want to reach out to the hospital administration systems.
Okay. I'm actually, this week, I'm actually recording a presentation for, it's basically the National Gastroenterology Nurses. They have a yearly conference. I'm actually going to speak at that. So that's kind of in my wheelhouse. So I was really fortunate to be able to do that.
Awesome. I mean, I heard about this all the time with the nurses. My cousin's a nurse, so I hear about this conference or that conference.
Yeah,
depending on-
definitely.
There's a lot of conferences for doctors and nurses.
Yes, there is all the
I'm
time.
pretty sure you can find a conference going on every week.
That's probably true in some part of the country or the world, for that matter.
Yeah, just about depending on what it is and where it's at and who's able to attend. But at the same time, we need to be able to pair up our recipients to our donors. We need to get our patients that are on the waiting list that hope.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm like not sure of how to say that we need this more than saying we need it and really get it home.
Yes, well, that's absolutely true. It's very hard to quantify, but we know it's always a goal. There will never be enough organs. There'll never be enough blood. It'll always be something we're chasing after to try it and get
That
awareness.
is very, very true. There's something that we always need.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's a heart valve, it doesn't matter if it's heart, lung, kidney, whatever it is. Some of these you can do as a living person and donate. Some of them you cannot.
Exactly.
If you're able to go do it, if you're able to. But at the same time, you have to want to do it, not just be made to do it.
Right. Yeah, it's not something you can force someone to make a decision about. It's definitely a personal decision.
Yes. And it's something that you have to think about. What am I doing with my life? As a person, can I give something back to another human?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to get past the stigmas. Oh, they need a transplant. I've heard this so many times. They need a transplant because they did something negative to their own body. That is not always the case.
No, it's not.
There are cases like that.
Yeah, there certainly are. Absolutely.
And usually if that's the case, they're on the bottom of the list, not on the top of the list. Usually, unless
you're a celebrity.
Yeah. But at the same time, we need the ones that are on the top of the list actually to be able to get what they need. And there's oodles of tests that are run before a recipient such as yourself are able to get it. You have to make sure the blood type matches. You have to make sure, I think there's 17 points that have to match up.
Right. Yeah, there's several factors. I'm sure there's more than there used to be.
I'm sure there is too, because with every advancement we find, oh, we have to match this up too.
Exactly. Yep.
Because then you have the medicines that you have to take all your life to make sure your body doesn't reject this gift.
Correct. Absolutely.
Now, are you able to get your prescriptions without any interference, I should say?
I am. I've had pretty good luck. There was a time from when I had my second transplant, I was on a brand name prescription. And unfortunately, with one of my employers, I had to switch to the generic. So that was kind of nerve-wracking, honestly, because I mean, yes, they are the same pill, but you just never know. And luckily that was a smooth transition. But I go to my local pharmacy and pick them up. I don't need any kind of special authorization or anything like that. Thankfully, I've been very lucky.
Very lucky.
Regard. Yes.
I've heard nightmares with pharmacies and medicines and stuff like this. I'm like, always have to check, is it something that we need legislation to step in and say, no, they need this life-saving tool.
Exactly. Yeah, diabetes medication especially, there's some people are paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for it.
It has spiked up 3 times in the last decade that I'm aware of for diabetes medicine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's quantified 3 times. It's actually gone up a lot more. What's $10? I think it's like 300 some dollars now. Same thing with EpiPens and other medications.
Yes, absolutely.
But at the same time, the process to make the medicine is the same.
Exactly.
The company is the same. What has changed to quantify this need?
I wish I could tell you.
I can guess.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, there's probably a few negative things in there that we don't want to talk about, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if my insurance didn't cover it, I'd be paying a pretty penny for mine. I'm sure of. I've been very fortunate in that regard.
That's always thankful, because it's a lifetime medicine. You can't say, oh, I no longer want to take this. It's if I don't take this, I'm not going to be around tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's, when I was going through the, evaluation the second time, I was a teenager, and they stressed how important that was. This is not something you can take lightly. It's not something you can skip. It's, this is it. This is your life.
Exactly. It's not something that you can go, oh, this is pill, I don't want to take it no more. I don't like how it makes me feel. Well,
or I'm running out, and I can go a few days without taking it till I get my next refill. Things like that. You just can't do.
You really can't. And there's so many medicines, so many people out there that sadly have to live that way, because you can't. When you have a transplant, you cannot skip a dose.
Absolutely not.
But where can our listeners and our viewers find you, your book, and maybe get you onto talking?
I have a website, johnstransplantjourney.com. There it gives you information on the book. There's a link to purchase it. There's a contact us link. You can send me an email, and it has links to all my social pages. That's the best way to get all the information.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. I mean, we can't really quantify how many people that are out there needing this. We can't quantify how many people can save a life, 8 to 10 lives, one person. But these are things that we need to talk about. We need to get it into the public's attention. Go, hello, say, jump up and down, scream it from the rooftops. We need more of this.
Absolutely. I completely agree. That's where I found, my inspiration for it is there's never enough talking about it.
There's really not. We have billboards, maybe once a month, once a year. Well, we need organ donations, a catastrophe, something happens, and we need blood donations, organ donation. Then you see an uptake, and then it all falls out again.
Because, the public has very short attention span. So it's what's in the moment.
It is. So we need to say this all the time. We need once a week, once a month, all the time. Get out there, give the blood, give what you can to people. It costs nothing to have a sticker on your driver's license that says, hey, I'm an organ donor. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even I can donate organs. Just probably not my liver, but I can certainly donate other organs, which I plan to. Exactly.
It doesn't matter. You could have your will made out when you're 18 and say, hey, I'm an organ donor, and that's it. Or you get my daughter, 18 years old. She's an organ donor. I've been an organ donor since I was 18. It doesn't matter. My care doesn't change with my doctors, but I know if something happens to me, I'm still able to be helpful.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And for our viewers and our listeners, happy reading.